Sometimes the most innocent questions carry the heaviest truths. When 7-year-old Lily asked Ellen if she could share a secret, nobody expected those whispered words to stop time itself. What happened next reminded everyone in that studio that angels don't always have wings. Sometimes they have pigtails and gap-toothed smiles. It was a picture-perfect Tuesday morning at Warner Bros. Studios in Burbank, and the Ellen DeGeneres show was practically glowing with anticipation. The stage had been transformed into a wonderland of color. Rainbow balloons floated everywhere, streamers cascaded from the ceiling, and the entire set sparkled with the kind of magic reserved for the most special occasions. Ellen appeared on stage wearing a light blue blazer that seemed to capture and reflect all the joy surrounding her. Her smile was even brighter than usual as she addressed the audience of 300, her energy infectious and warm. "Good morning, everyone," Ellen called out, her arms spread wide as confetti cannons filled the air with golden sparkles. "Today is going to be extra special because we're making dreams come true for a very special little girl." The audience erupted in enthusiastic applause, their excitement building as they took in the elaborate decorations and festive atmosphere. Ellen walked to center stage, where a small table had been set up with what looked like a jewelry box and several wrapped presents. "Now, you all know how much I love our Make-A-Wish segments," Ellen continued, her voice carrying genuine emotion. "These are the moments that remind me why we do this show, because sometimes the smallest gestures can mean everything to someone who needs a little magic in their life." She paused, looking directly into the camera with that sincere expression that had endeared her to millions of viewers over the years. Today's wish comes from a very brave little girl named Lily Martinez. She's 7 years old. She lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and she has been fighting cancer for the past 2 years with more courage than most adults could ever imagine. The audience's energy shifted slightly, becoming more reverent, more focused. Ellen had a gift for balancing celebration with respect when dealing with children facing serious challenges. "Lily's wish is beautifully simple," Ellen said, her smile returning. "She wants to dance with me. That's it, just dance, and let me tell you, after meeting this little girl, I am honored, absolutely honored to dance with her today." Ellen gestured toward the audience, and the spotlight found Lily immediately. She was sitting in the front row, a tiny figure in a bright yellow dress that had been chosen specially for this day. Her dark hair was styled in 2 perfect pigtails with yellow ribbons that matched her dress, and despite the visible effects of her treatment, the slight pallor, the too thin frame, her brown eyes were absolutely radiant with excitement. What struck everyone who saw Lily wasn't what cancer had taken from her, but what it hadn't been able to touch, her smile. It was pure sunshine, the kind of uninhibited joy that only children possess, and it lit up her entire face as she realized all those decorations, all that magic, was for her. "Lily Martinez, come on down here, sweetheart," Ellen called out, her own excitement genuine and infectious. Lily stood up carefully, her movements deliberate but determined. Her mother, Maria, helped guide her down the aisle, staying close but allowing Lily to walk independently. The audience began applauding, but it was gentle, respectful applause that recognized this little girl's journey and celebrated her presence among them. As Lily reached the stage, Ellen knelt down immediately, bringing herself to eye level with the child. It was something Ellen did instinctively with young guests, understanding that being physically on their level helped create connection and comfort. "Hi, Lily," Ellen said softly, her voice warm and welcoming. "I'm so happy you're here today." "Hi, Ellen," Lily replied, her voice clear and sweet despite its slight hoarseness, a side effect of her treatments. "Thank you for inviting me. This is the most beautiful place I've ever seen." Ellen felt that familiar tug in her chest that came whenever she met children whose perspective had been shaped by experiences no child should have to face. There was something in Lily's voice, in the way she spoke, that suggested wisdom far beyond her 7 years. "Well, it's beautiful because you're here," Ellen said genuinely. "Are you ready to dance with me?" Lily's face lit up even brighter, if that was possible. "I've been practicing. Mommy played your videos, and I learned some of your moves." Ellen laughed with pure delight. "You learned my moves? Oh, this is going to be good. Show me what you've got." The music began, a gentle, upbeat song that Ellen had chosen specially for Lily. Not too fast, not too overwhelming, just pure joy set to melody. Lily immediately began moving, and Ellen was amazed by the child's grace and enthusiasm. Despite everything she'd been through, despite the treatments and the hospital stays and the uncertainty, Lily danced with the uninhibited pleasure of a child who had found something that brought her complete happiness. Ellen joined in, matching Lily's energy, following her lead. They spun together, clapped their hands, did little jumping moves that made Lily giggle with pure delight. The audience was captivated, many people wiping away tears as they watched this beautiful moment of connection between a talk show host and a little girl who had asked for nothing more than the chance to dance. For several minutes they moved together across the stage, creating something magical that had nothing to do with the decorations or the cameras and everything to do with two people sharing pure joy. Lily's laughter filled the studio, light and musical and absolutely infectious. But then, as the song began to wind down, something shifted. Lily slowed her movements, not from exhaustion, but with the deliberate purpose of someone who had something important to say. "Ellen," Lily said, reaching out to take Ellen's hand as the music faded. "Can I tell you a secret?" Ellen smiled, still caught up in the joy of their dance, still radiating happiness from the beautiful moment they'd shared. "Of course, sweetheart, you can tell me anything." Lily looked around the studio, at all the colorful decorations, at the audience watching with such love and attention, at her mother sitting in the front row with tears of joy in her eyes. Then she looked back at Ellen, with those wise brown eyes that seemed to hold far too much knowledge for someone so young. "I wanted to dance with you," Lily whispered, her voice so quiet that Ellen had to lean closer to hear, "because dancing makes me feel like I'm flying, and soon I'm going to fly for real." Ellen's smile didn't fade immediately. The words took a moment to register, to penetrate the happiness and celebration that surrounded them. But when they did, Ellen felt something cold settle in her stomach. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Ellen asked gently, though something in her heart was already beginning to understand. Lily looked directly into Ellen's eyes with that stunning honesty that children possess before they learn to soften difficult truths for adult comfort. "I mean, I'm going to heaven soon," Lily said simply. "The doctors told Mommy they can't fix me anymore, but they don't know that I heard them. And it's okay, Ellen, because it doesn't hurt anymore. When things stop hurting, that means it's time to go." The words hit Ellen like a physical blow. The studio, which had been filled with music and laughter just moments before, became completely silent. The audience seemed to collectively hold its breath, unsure of what they were witnessing, unsure of how to process what this little girl had just said. Ellen felt the world tilt around her. This wasn't supposed to be part of the wish. This wasn't supposed to be part of the celebration. This was a 7-year-old child, standing in a yellow dress surrounded by balloons and streamers, calmly discussing her own death with the matter-of-fact acceptance that only children can manage. "Lily," Ellen whispered, her voice barely audible. "Sweetheart, are you sure about that?" Lily nodded seriously. "I know things hurt less now because my body is getting ready to let go. And I know Mommy cries when she thinks I can't see her, and I know the doctors keep having meetings where they whisper a lot." Ellen felt tears beginning to build in her eyes. She glanced quickly toward the front row where Maria sat frozen in her seat, clearly hearing her daughter's words and realizing that Lily had understood far more than they'd given her credit for. "Are you scared?" Ellen asked, kneeling down fully now, bringing herself as close to Lily's level as possible. Lily considered the question seriously, tilting her head slightly in that thoughtful way children have when they're giving real consideration to something important. "No," she said finally, "I'm not scared. You know why?" Ellen shook her head, unable to speak past the emotion building in her throat. "Because when you're going to heaven, that means you get to fly without being sick. And I've always wanted to fly, Ellen. Ever since I was little, I mean littler than now, I wanted to fly like the birds and the angels." Ellen's composure cracked completely. Tears began streaming down her face as she looked at this extraordinary child who was facing the unthinkable with more grace and wisdom than most adults could manage. "But I wanted to dance with you first," Lily continued, "because dancing is like flying practice, and because you make people happy, and I wanted to feel really, really happy before I go." The studio was completely silent now. Even the production crew had stopped moving, stopped adjusting equipment, stopped doing anything except witnessing this moment between a woman and a child who was teaching everyone what courage actually looked like. Ellen reached out and gently took Lily's small hands in hers. "Lily, you are the bravest person I have ever met." "Really?" Lily's face brightened with pleasure at the compliment. "Really. And you know what else?" "What?" "You made me happy too. Dancing with you was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced." Lily smiled that radiant smile again. "I'm glad. I wanted it to be beautiful for both of us." Ellen glanced again toward Maria, who was now openly crying in the front row. Without asking permission, Ellen made a decision that went against every protocol, every rule about maintaining professional distance. "Lily," Ellen said softly. Would it be okay if your mommy came up here with us? Lily nodded enthusiastically. I think mommy needs hugs right now. Ellen gestured to Maria, who rose from her seat on unsteady legs and made her way to the stage. When she reached them, she immediately knelt down and wrapped Lily in her arms, holding her daughter as if she could protect her from everything by the sheer force of her love. Mija, Maria whispered in Spanish, her voice broken with tears. You heard the doctors? I hear lots of things, Lily said gently, reaching up to wipe tears from her mother's face. But Mommy, it's okay, really okay. I'm not sad anymore. Maria looked at Ellen with eyes filled with grief and disbelief and desperate hope that maybe this was all somehow a mistake, somehow not real. She's been so brave through everything, Maria said, her voice thick with tears. 2 years of treatments, surgeries, hospitals, and she never complained, never asked why her. She just kept saying she was going to get better so she could come meet Ellen and dance. Ellen felt her heart breaking all over again. Maria, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. The doctors say maybe weeks, Maria interrupted, needing to say the words that had been choking her. Maybe a month. The treatment isn't working anymore, and her little body, it's just tired. Lily looked between Ellen and her mother with that wise expression that had characterized her throughout this conversation. I'm not tired, Lily clarified. I'm ready tired. Like when you've had the most perfect day and you're ready to go to sleep because it was so good you don't want to do anything else that might make it less perfect. Ellen stared at this child, amazed by her ability to find peace in something so devastating. Is today a perfect day for you, Lily? Today is the most perfect day ever, Lily said without hesitation. I got to dance with Ellen and everyone was happy, and there are balloons everywhere, and Mommy is here, and I felt like I was flying. She paused, looking around the stage one more time. The only thing that would make it more perfect is if everyone stops being sad about me going to heaven, because I think heaven is just like. Lily thought for a moment, then smiled with sudden inspiration. Could we dance one more time? But this time, could everyone dance with us? Ellen looked at the audience, at the crew members, at Maria, who was still kneeling beside them. You want everyone to dance? I want everyone to be happy together, Lily explained, because when I'm flying around in heaven, I want to remember everyone being happy and dancing and not being sad about me. Ellen stood up and addressed the entire studio. Ladies and gentlemen, Lily has a request. She wants everyone to dance with us. Can you do that? The response was immediate and overwhelming. 300 audience members rose to their feet. Camera operators stepped away from their equipment. Production assistants emerged from behind the set. Even the security guards started moving to the music as Ellen signaled for the song to start again. What happened next was unlike anything that had ever occurred on a television set. The entire studio became a dance floor, with Lily at the center of it all, spinning and laughing and clapping her hands as hundreds of people moved together in celebration of her life, her courage, her extraordinary spirit. Ellen danced beside her, matching her energy, celebrating her joy, trying to absorb every second of this moment that Lily had created through sheer force of will and wisdom. Maria danced too, still crying but smiling through her tears as she watched her daughter experience the pure happiness she had wished for. As the music played and everyone moved together, Ellen realized that Lily had done something remarkable. She had taken a room full of strangers and united them in love, in celebration, in the recognition that some moments are so precious they transcend everything else. When the music finally ended, Lily was glowing with happiness. She looked around at all the people who were now wiping tears and applauding and sharing in her joy. Thank you, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the studio. Thank you for dancing with me and for making this the most perfect day. Ellen knelt down beside her one more time. Lily, I want you to know something. You've taught me more in the last 20 minutes than I've learned in years of doing this show. What did I teach you? Lily asked curiously. You taught me that courage isn't about not being afraid. Courage is about finding joy even when things are scary. You taught me that love is stronger than anything else, stronger than sickness, stronger than sadness, stronger than goodbye. Lily nodded seriously. Daddy used to tell me that before he went to heaven too. He said love is the only thing that gets to come with you when you go. Ellen's breath caught. Your daddy is in heaven? He went there when I was 5, Lily said matter-of-factly. Car accident. But he visits me in dreams sometimes, and he told me that heaven is where all the love you've ever given or gotten lives forever. So I'm not really going away, I'm just going where all the love is. Ellen looked at Maria, realizing that this family had already survived one devastating loss and was now facing another. The strength it must have taken for Maria to bring Lily here, to allow her this moment of joy while carrying such grief, was almost incomprehensible. "Lily," Ellen said finally, "I want to make you a promise." "What kind of promise?" "I promise that every time I dance on this show, I'm going to think of you. I'm going to remember how you taught me that dancing is practice for flying. And I'm going to make sure that everyone who watches knows about the bravest little girl who ever came to visit me." Lily's face lit up with delight. "Really? You'll remember me when you dance?" "Always," Ellen said firmly. "Always and forever." Lily threw her arms around Ellen's neck, hugging her with surprising strength for someone so small. "Thank you for making my wish come true. Thank you for dancing with me. Thank you for letting everyone be happy together." Ellen held her tightly, trying to memorize the feeling of this remarkable child in her arms, the sound of her voice, the warmth of her spirit. When they finally separated, Ellen had one more thing to say. "Lily, when you're flying around in heaven, and you see your daddy, will you tell him something for me?" "What should I tell him?" "Tell him that his little girl taught a whole studio full of people what love looks like." Lily nodded solemnly. "I'll tell him." And Ellen, "Yes, sweetheart? When you miss me, just dance, because dancing is how Earth people can fly too." The show ended with Lily surrounded by balloons, holding Ellen's hand, waving goodbye to an audience that had been forever changed by her presence. There were no dramatic exits, no elaborate productions, just a little girl who had shared her wisdom, her courage, and her joy with everyone lucky enough to witness it. Lily Martinez passed away peacefully 3 weeks later, surrounded by her family, with her favorite yellow dress hanging in the closet and a video of her dancing with Ellen playing softly in the background. Ellen kept her promise. At the end of every show during her closing dance, she thought of Lily. She thought of a 7-year-old girl who had taught her that courage comes in many forms, that joy can coexist with sorrow, and that some people leave marks on the world that can never be erased. The episode became one of the most watched and shared in the show's history, not because of any celebrity guests or expensive giveaways, but because it captured something rare and precious, the moment when a child's wisdom reminded adults what really matters. Viewers wrote in by the thousands, sharing their own stories of loss, of children who had faced impossible challenges with grace, of moments when innocence and wisdom had intersected to create something transcendent. Ellen established the Lily Martinez Foundation, dedicated to granting wishes for terminally ill children and supporting families facing pediatric cancer. Every child who received a wish got to dance because dancing, as Lily had taught them all, was practice for flying. And sometimes, on quiet mornings in the studio before the audience arrived, Ellen would play music and dance alone on the stage, feeling the presence of a little girl in a yellow dress who had reminded her that angels don't always have wings. Sometimes they have pigtails and the courage to find joy in the face of goodbye.